The country had a heartbeat you could hear. What day would make it race? For Germany, it's November 9th, Schicksalstag, the day of fate. On this single date, across 2 centuries, Germany has stumbled, fought, burned, and broken walls. It's a day that refuses to be one thing. I want to invite you to walk through 5 November 9s with me. Each is a door. Open the wrong one and a nation learns the cost for generations. Open the right one and you might feel a draft of freedom. Spoiler alert, on November 9th, Germany has opened both. It begins with November 9th, 1848. In Vienna, Democrat Robert Blum is by a firing squad. His crime? Demanding a constitutional Germany and the basic dignity of its citizens. His last words, Ich sterbe für die Freiheit. I am for freedom. Those words became a warning shot. The revolutions of 1848 are crushed. The dream of a liberal constitutional Germany stagger. The path to unity will not be paved by law alone. It will soon be forced by iron and blood. Walking through this door reminds us that when freedom is strangled, extremism breathes easier. History has a tendency to notice which voices are silenced and often sends back a harder teacher. Now we step through the second door. It's November 9th, 1918. Germany, starved by war and shaken by mutiny, watches its Kaiser fall. On a balcony in Berlin, Philipp Scheidemann proclaims the Republic to a roaring crowd. Across the city, Karl Liebknecht proclaims a free socialist republic. 2 declarations and 1 fragile state. The Weimar Republic is born on the edge of a knife, and the enemies of democracy are already sharpening theirs. Stepping through this door teaches us that a republic can be born in a minute. It takes years to defend, and it can be undone by those who never accepted its birth. Door 3 opens onto a street. It's November 9th, 1923. We're in Munich, a failed coup. Shots are fired in the Odeonsplatz. Adi flees, is arrested and put on trial. He turns the courtroom into a stage and prison into a writing desk. The putsch fails. But Adi learns. He trades the street for the ballot, the brawl for the microphone. The road to dictatorship will come dressed in legality. Crossing this door reminds us that a failed extremist is not a harmless one. Defeat can be a rehearsal. And when lies are rehearsed in public, they are actively recruiting. Now comes the darkest door. November 9th to 10th, 1938. The Reichspogromnacht, or long called Kristallnacht. Synagogues burn across Germany and Austria. Jewish businesses are smashed, homes invaded, and cemeteries desecrated. Around 30,000 Jewish men are arrested and sent to CCs in a single sweep. Police are ordered to look away, and fire brigades are not protecting synagogues but German property. It's a signal that cruelty now wears a uniform. Some dates are instructions. November 9th, 1938 instructs a nation to treat its neighbors as targets. It's the day when a regime's hatred becomes an ordinary people's task list. After that night, the road to the HC is no longer unthinkable. It is mapped. Stepping through the door reminds us that democracies don't fall overnight. They become numb first, and that the most terrifying tool in politics is not rage but routine. And finally, the 5th door, one that opens by accident and sets millions free. It's November 9th, 1989. We're at a shaky press conference. Günther Schabowski fumbles a note about new travel rules. A reporter asks, ab wann? From when? Schabowski replies, sofort, unverzüglich. At once. Crowds surge. Guards hesitate. For the first time in 28 years, Berliners step through the wall. People do not tear it down that night. They walk through it. The border collapses under the weight of a sentence, of confusion and of courage. 2 Germanys rush together and cry. Walking through this door reminds us that authoritarian walls often fall the way they began, through human decisions. It would be comforting to think that November 9th is a coincidence, a neat string of accidents, but that would miss the deeper pattern. November sits at the hinge of German life. After harvest and before winter, after defeats and before decisions. November 9th is not magic. It's a mirror. And mirrors can be merciless. 3 patterns return on this day, and each comes with a warning. The drift from emergency to normal. In 1938, violence is packed as policy. People learn what not to see. The lesson for any open society is simple and brutal. By the time cruelty feels ordinary, it's already too late to call it an emergency. The performance of legality. From 1923 to 1933, extremists learned to wear suits. They study rules not to protect them, but to twist them. The warning is timeless. When a society forgets the values it's laws were meant to protect, those same laws will be turned against their original purpose. And third, the speed of hope. In 1989, the door opens because enough people believe it might. Change feels impossible until it isn't. Systems that seem permanent can collapse overnight, because permanence, unfortunately, is a story we tell ourselves. Every society has its own Schicksalstage, those hinge moments where history knocks and people either answer or look away. What matters most is what we do with those memories. True remembrance is not nostalgia. I've said it elsewhere, that it's maintenance. A regular, deliberate act of moral upkeep. It means keeping memory alive not as guilt but as guidance. It means asking again and again, what does this story demand of us now? Memory, if it is to protect us, must do three things. It needs to name clearly. We do not soften words. The past must be described honestly and not be edited into comfort. It needs to defend early. The time to protect a democracy is when the first lines are crossed, not when the damage is already done. History's worst moments began as small permissions. And third, it needs to practice dignity. The work of democracy is psychological work. Emotion regulation, empathy, perspective taking, and the courage to stand in the doorway and refuse the next shove. That's not just German work, but human work. And in that sense, November 9th belongs to all of us. The most unsettling thing about Schicksalstag is that fate doesn't choose. People do. On November 9th, 1848, soldiers pulled a trigger. In 1918, leaders spoke words that made a state. In 1938, neighbors watched, and some helped, as synagogues burned. In 1989, crowds walked and guards stepped aside. The date keeps returning because the choice keeps returning. Which door will we open next time? If you live in Germany, November 9th feels like holding two truths in one hand, grief and gratitude. If you live elsewhere, the date is still yours because these doors stand in every society. So here's a practical, maybe slightly uncomfortable November 9th ritual we can all adopt. Name the first step. Identify one small cruelty being normalized around you, a slur, a degrading policy, and say out loud that this is not normal. Protect the neighbor. Choose a concrete action that preserves someone's dignity this month. Not a post, but an action. Help, accompany, and intervene. Third, mind the microphone. Reward leaders who use their power to cool the temperature and starve those who monetize fear. And then teach the date. Tell a young person what happened on November 9th. All of it. The Republic, the Putsch, the pogrom, the wall. Teach them that dates are doors, and doors can be chosen. Germany's November 9th is not a superstition. It's a syllabus. It teaches that democracies are not kept by hope and heroes alone. They're kept by habits and by citizens who refuse to be bystanders. On a cold night in 1989, borders opened because people believed they could. On a colder night in 1938, doors were kicked in because people believed they should. The distance between those two evenings is not measured in years. It's measured in choices. The calendar will bring us another November 9th. Fate will not decide what it becomes. We will.